something. Now that something, as a thought that started with 10 people, is now grown into 70,000 plus professionals globally. 180 countries is the presence, number one peacemaker, and we're still growing and trying to acquire many other things beyond PC. Why this is relevant is because this wouldn't have happened unless we could have had a way of expanding that thought from 10 to 70,000. And that journey is more important. That is where the data, the information, the analytics, and the cultural shift plays a role. So when I took over this role about 2.5 years ago, after doing multiple roles at a country level, geography level, and now global level, my boss and the CXO of the global scene, 𝗘𝗱𝗶𝗁 𝗏, he asked me to look at experience as not just a product, but sum total of all the interactions that customer has with us. Irrespective whether or not we have a way of reaching our customer directly or even through our website. There are conversations happening which is beyond our control. Customers are talking to other customers, trying to get references, understand products. All of those interactions play a critical role in perception of a customer who could be your existing customer or a future customer. So look at experience as everything that customer gets to hear, gets to experience, gets to feel, and gets to take away from the interactions he's having directly with you or with somebody who's interacted with your brand before. Empathy. All of us are in the business of CX. Empathy is a code word. I don't have to tell you what empathy is all about. But as we have seen the whole world progress from being totally focused on a product which could have been generic, people have started relating to product as a personal product. Most of us have mobile phones. Maybe 20 to 30% people sitting here may have the same brand of phone and same version of phone. But our relationship with our own mobile is very, very personal. And that could be very different than that the person who's having the same mobile phone, same version holding in his hand. So while we are dealing with products that could relate to many people, many customers, how are we still sensitive about the relationship a user establishes with that product? That's very personal to him, right? And that is where again the data, information, analytics plays a role. But it's beyond that. It's not about just getting insights about how a customer interacts and establishes that personal relationship, but how we are able to use that information to enhance that relationship. How we are able to use that information to build that relationship so strong that a customer will want to come back to you again. I'm going to give a couple of experiences that I've had in my journey as a customer, because as a CX professional, it's very important that you don't forget you're also a customer. You are also in a continuous process of making perceptions, having feelings and emotions about various brands and products that we come across. A few years ago, I was traveling back to back, multiple tours I had undertaken, trips I had undertaken, and there was one journey that I was doing with Emirates. The flight was about 12 or 13 hours long, and I was extremely tired because we had these workshop series happening across the globe. I entered the flight and went off to sleep. 2 meals were offered. Throughout that time, I was asleep. I did not even wake up to get a glass of water. About a couple of hours before we were about to land, I woke up and I walked up to the pantry to fetch me a glass of water. The lady who was the air hostess there, she was attending me, and she just stopped me and said, "Hey, I observed that throughout the flight since time you got you have been sleeping. You have not eaten anything. You have not had a glass of water. You haven't done anything, and it's not good for your health." Believe you me, I was not traveling business class. I was in economy class. Okay? She said, "I have saved a meal for you. It's a light meal since you've been hungry for such a long time. You have not eaten, so it doesn't make sense for you to have something. Maybe start with a light meal." She gave me some food. She gave me water. She came back to check on me to make sure that I was fine. There was nothing wrong with my health. You don't expect this, right? It's not just you. There are other 300 odd passengers traveling in the same flight, and she's busy, serving everybody. But to observe, keep that in mind has left a lasting impression on my mind. So even today, whenever somebody asks me about, tell me that one experience that stands out, Emirates comes to my mind. Only because it was made personal to me. There were 300 odd passengers, same flight, same seating capacity, same meal served, but it was personal to me. And that is where power of information we empower a regular traveler to have availability of options across the things that she would like, whether it's a location or the cost, but also empower people who had extra space to make it available and get earning out of it. So it actually created a bond between two needs that existed, two gaps that existed, and it was a win-win situation. It changed the whole travel concept for a common person, right? And today you see beautiful Airbnb properties which are talked about, and they're with premium hotels. So it's very interesting how a concept where you are understanding what a customer need is, a pain point is, and you're understanding without the solution, what solution can address that, can change the whole way we do business. Anybody recognizes this? Few decades back, Blockbuster. Home entertainment equal to Blockbuster. Today we talk about Netflix and chill. Nobody remembers Blockbuster, right? A brand can continue to evolve as a customer need is evolving, understanding where the market is going, how I can cater better to the customer because the expectations are changing, can make you a very big brand in no time, or can wipe you out if you're not sensitive towards it. Again, power of data, information, analysis, and insights that can be converted into business decisions. So how do we transform a culture from product centricity to customer centricity? And believe you me, Lenovo is one company that wouldn't go beyond this because we're a manufacturing company. We started with the manufacturing as a concept, we're a product company, right? So when we started the whole CX practice a few years ago globally, before that it was scattered across geographies and we didn't have a central team running this. The biggest question was, when our focus has always been product, and there's nothing wrong, product is a very, very important aspect of business. How do we create a culture where every employee starts thinking about CX as one of his core responsibilities? It doesn't matter if you're facing a customer, it doesn't matter if you're sitting in finance, it doesn't matter if you're sitting in HR, it doesn't matter if you're a receptionist, receiving people at an office, or it doesn't matter a channel partner who not only sells Lenovo but some other vendors as well. How do we transform that culture to not only focus on product but associate our day-to-day job with the lens of CX? That is the biggest challenge that we were facing. And that's when we started putting our minds together. So what matters? It is a continuous learning and continuous delivery of insights with potential application. That is what is going to change. So we have to continue to listen to our customers, continue to find gaps where we don't exist today or the listening posts don't exist today, continue to gather that information, have most relevant and most recent insight in hands of all employees, and then continue to show what we can do with them. And that's where the whole journey of CX analytics started, which was earlier limited to product and then expanded to the entire journey. So as I earlier also said, we're a manufacturing company, product is our hero, product is our star, at the center of everything for many, many years, and we had to move that and put customer in the center. But with product being our hero, we also had a very mature practice of listening to our customers and getting those feedbacks incorporated in our product design, and we take a huge pride in it. Of course, that thing has expanded beyond product. But how do we listen? We listen on various platforms. It's not just the search, it's not just the social media comments that we get to hear or reviews that we get to see. It's not just the various studies that we sponsor or the research papers that we have or consultants doing work for us, right? We also have a huge community, about 4,500 channel partners and IT decision makers who give us their feedback. Not only in terms of how our products and solutions are faring, but where the market is moving. What their next expectations look like. From their business perspective, what features, what things could make an impact on the way they utilize and consume IT to make their business successful. This is a continuous process. We have brands like ThinkPad, where we have millions of customers who are extremely passionate about this brand. We have fan club of, it used to be 3 million, I think it's grown much more. About 4 years ago it was 3 million. And they are very outspoken about the product itself. A slight change on a ThinkPad keyboard and we get millions of commentary saying that this works and this doesn't work and just don't do it or just do it. what we process today in 4 languages to understand what customer perception is across the globe by brand, by product, and by touchpoint. And all of this information then is basically analyzed to produce specific areas that will be potential areas where a business can invest in. And I'll give you some examples as we go along. So let's look at this example. I mean, there are many examples, but I have picked a few. When I talk about product experience, and I'm sure all of you would have seen what happened in pandemic. The traditional product and traditional way of consuming product or service changed completely, right? So what happened to us as well? In Lenovo, what we realized that in pandemic, as the offices went home and the schools went home, people started using products for their work and their education. Sound quality and camera became most important factor. It did not matter if it was an entry-level product or a high-range product. That was the most important factor. So we started continuously investing into it to improve that, to improve the sound quality and camera, and we saw huge results, positive results. People found it much more easy to use our products and be equally effective though they were working in virtual world. The e-com part, we got a lot of commentary from the e-com where we saw that product availability was not as clearly mentioned when they were purchasing products. Because that was not an issue pre-pandemic. Pandemic made major changes in terms of availability, in terms of shipment, in terms of product stocking, right? So all of that started impacting everything that was happening. And that was a major issue that our customers were facing. So again, we took a step back, we rehauled the whole website to make sure that all of these things were integrated enough to understand the last mile availability as near real time as possible when the customer was interacting on our web pages. Service experience. Again, this became very critical for us because there were multiple things that were happening in terms of getting the service feedbacks. Service tickets that were getting raised, customers finding it very difficult to find an agent or find a number to interact with. This again changed the traditional way of interacting. Because if you remember earlier, a number was enough, people would call, and then we had a self-service portal. But self-service portal became critical because a lot of people were finding it difficult to get to the lines. A lot of people were using their products. They didn't have the IT department supporting them, especially in the B2B scenario. They had to troubleshoot themselves. So getting a self-service portal up and running but making it far more efficient became very critical for us. So what we did, we centralized the whole thing, right? We created one single platform where all surveys were put together from 7 to 1 globally. Then we created a whole data lake and created an entire data analytics solution internally effective enough to provide real-time insights as we go along. And of course, we not only looked at customer experience data, but we tied it with the operational data, which is what made it much more powerful. It wasn't enough. I earlier spoke about shifting culture. So that was the next step. What we did and continue to do is create a complete transparency. Today, all 70,000 employees have access to customer comments, customer feedbacks across the globe. They know exactly how we are operating and what our perception is as compared to last year at the fingertips. So this is the first step. Now comes the driving awareness and adoption and how it can be applied in a day-to-day job. But this is something that we've achieved over the last few years. Next thing was, of course, creating centralized KPIs for all key functions. So CX does not become an afterthought. It becomes an important integral part. And being a Lenovo employee, I'll be proud to say a part of all our employees' annual bonus is tied to CX achievement. So everybody has vested interest to make sure CX succeeds, right? And it started with getting leadership buy-in, right? From a CEO 𝗧𝗧 to everybody who's leading a function to have CX KPIs signed off every year. So we actually create targets based on last year experience, and those are tracked through the year, and a part of bonus is paid off on that. So again, how can CX drive revenue, cut costs, and improve profit? I spoke about bringing data together, operational data, CX data, understanding what was happening. But before I dive into the next slide, let me just give you an example of the statement that we saw earlier. And this is just an example. We saw at one particular country a lot of cart abandonment was happening. About 5% of carts were getting abandoned. And CX feedback showed there was an issue, but we were not able to tie it back exactly what was happening. understand sales has a great impact on business as a whole and can be a revenue driver. It's just a small example. So what next? With all this data coming together, what we started doing on B2B side is identifying customers who could be at risk of leaving the loop. And how do we utilize all the possible touch points that we have to gain back confidence from our customers that they stay with us, right? We started with the B2B journey, we'll slowly move into B2C. But that has already started paying off great rewards, because now we're able to monitor high-risk customers across all the interactions, not just the sales, but understanding if a senior person can intervene to understand what the underlying issue is, to also influencing how service tickets are handled. Can they be handled differently? Can there be a white glove treatment offered to this customer at such time? We iron out the relationship that we have and make sure all the problems are solved. So it does, again, not only help you get incremental revenue, but also drive retention. So importance of analytics, 5 things. My takeaway is from my experience in the last 2 years that we've been able to influence and build centralized sales tools, centralized data, centralized analysis, so that you have end-to-end view that you can provide. Because today's business is not in boxes, right? It's an integrated process. So if something goes wrong in your supply chain, it goes wrong in your sales, it goes wrong in your customer experience. It's interlinked. So more you centralize and able to show those links across the business, the easier it is to get those decision makers on the same table and influence those decisions. Take data-driven decisions, no-brainer, everybody knows. Act on customer feedback, empower people, and tie sales operational metrics